Hello guys, and welcome back to another video. And today we're looking at a scenario where all regions of the USA go to war. We have the Great Lakes, the Mideast, we have the southern states, Texas and Friends, the four states that meet up perfectly for some reason, the Pacific states, the northern US, the central US, and New England plus New Jersey. Well, New Jersey, I guess it could be considered regular New England. With that, let's begin with New England, who is going to start an offensive into Pennsylvania and an offensive down into Delaware and further on into the peninsula. From there, we have the Great Lakes, who are going to start an offensive into West Virginia and down to Kentucky, along with an offensive out into Iowa. The central U.S., who is not in a great position, obviously being in the center of the U.S., is actually going to give up some land. They are going to do their best to leave their neighbors behind. So Texas and Friends are going to push up a bit north. These four states that I just decided to put in a group are going to push in. And the northern U.S. is going to push in as well. They are just... honestly, they're the Poland of this world. They are completely just stuck in the middle. And I wish them luck because they probably need it. With that, Nebraska soon to fall. Iowa's on the verge. This is not looking very good. As for these, I guess, four middle states, well, they're also going to have some issues as Texas and Friends begins an invasion into New Mexico, whilst the Pacific states begin an invasion into Arizona and Utah, although it isn't a very strong one. The Pacific states are in fact eyeing up Idaho and sending a majority of their forces to fully capitulate the country. They decide to make a border with Montana, with the entirety of Idaho surrendering to the Pacific states. They then push slightly more into northern Utah and out a bit into the incredibly underpopulated Wyoming. Speaking of the incredibly underpopulated Wyoming, well, they're getting absolutely rolled over, as this isn't even a question of fighting. It's a question of how fast can you walk in, and these four states right here are going to walk in quite quickly, pushing back the northern states on all fronts. Sadly for them, they are not powerful enough to keep pushing, whilst the Pacific states are. So the Pacific states will push them out of northern Wyoming, push into the soft underbelly of Montana, don't know if that's true or not, and from there the entirety of the Montanan front line is going to crumble. North and South Dakota are going to try and hold on, but I do not know how much longer they can, as now the Great Lakes are starting to push into whatever's left of the northern U.S. With advances on pretty much all sides, the northern U.S. is going to be the first to go, as they mainly surrender to the Great Lakes, but the Pacific states and some others get some of that land as well. Actually, they get a decent amount of land, and even the central U.S. gets some of their land back. Although it's really not worth it. Actually, I'll just show you what's going to happen to them, as the Great Lakes is pretty much done with Iowa, and none of these, nobody here is able to take them on. Nebraska is about to fall. Even Kansas is on the absolute verge. Actually, no, Kansas does completely fall, and they are about to die. But one group that I haven't talked about pretty much at all here is the southern states, who have been preparing and are now launching their own offensives, the most major of which being a complete blitz to New Orleans. Their hope is to capture the major city before Louisiana can reinforce. As I said, they've been doing pretty much nothing, so they hope that a quick offensive can capture the city. They encircle it, but the city does not fall just yet, although the rest of Louisiana does, until Texas sends in its own troops. They also push up into Arkansas and out into Kentucky. They attempt to capitulate South Carolina, but sadly that fails. From there, the Texans are going to start to push them back, but they are not willing to let go of the encirclement of New Orleans. As for New England, Well, they have been further preparing, and they are now starting an all-out offensive into Pennsylvania. They do not succeed in capitulating the state, but they do get quite far, and that allows them to push further into Maryland. From there, the Great Lakes region is going to decide that the central U.S. is gone, and why not get some of that land? So they end up being the ones to capitulate them, getting a good portion of the land for themselves. Okay. As for these, I guess, quad states right here, yeah, they're not doing so great. Who's doing even worse? Well, there's literally one country doing worse, and that is the bunch of random countries that I don't know what to name. As West Virginia has fallen, Tennessee and Kentucky are about to, and with small advances from the South and the Great Lakes, they surrender. They have completely fallen. From there, the South tries a new offensive, and even continues to make progress towards New Orleans, but the city stays strong. And Texas is getting closer and closer to liberating it. Well, not liberating it, but freeing it from the encirclement. Closer and closer. From there, the South is going to decide if we are going to lose in Louisiana, then we need a victory somewhere else, and that victory comes very clear as the Mid-Atlantic is just not doing so great. They are about to lose Maryland to New England, and honestly, there are a lot of rebels in Kentucky and Tennessee who are trying to fight them back. So, after seeing a slip up in their defenses, they managed to capture all of South Carolina, securing their influence in the region. After that, the Mid-Atlantic just starts to crumble. Maryland surrenders, and with that, the Virginian coastline is captured. From there, they begin to push in, also capturing parts of Pennsylvania. Whilst the Great Lakes will not be one to miss out on this opportunity, capturing a lot of Kentucky, all of West Virginia, parts of Maryland, and even parts of Maryland and even parts of Virginia, along with all of West Virginia. The South, who was one of the people to first start this crumble, takes most of Tennessee, a small part of Virginia, and a majority of North Carolina. The Mid-Atlantic, who looked like they were going to do great, is now starting to crumble due to one team, and that is New England, who fully capitulates them, getting a lot of the land. A lot of the important land as well. As for the rest, it is divided up among the neighbors, and New England, looking to secure this area, attacks the Great Lakes, who have been overextending themselves a bit much. Who's going to be the... do I even have to say who's going to be the next to fall? New Mexico surrenders, Colorado's on the verge of falling, and California decided to capture Phoenix. Yeah, that's not great. You know what else isn't great? Their complete capitulation. I am not even going to explain exactly how this happened. I think we all knew they were going to fall eventually. Their terrain was the only thing keeping them alive, but even that couldn't stop the absolute onslaught of two superpowers pushing in from both sides. If you didn't know, Texas and California. With that, Texas and neighbors are going to take a good portion of the land, whilst the Great Lakes actually gets a small amount over here in the central U.S. So now these are the borders. These are the, top 5, the 5 that are left. Honestly, from here, I don't know what's going to happen. The Great Lakes are probably going to stop some of their expansion to try and recapture Pennsylvania at any cost. They're going to, begin an invasion, capturing a good portion of the country. As I am not... Honestly, I think they dedicate a majority of their resources to recapturing Pennsylvania, and even some of non-New York City, New York, upstate New York, which is far less populated than, this area right here, I'd say is the heart of New England. If you can capture this, they will fall. The Mid-Atlantic looked like the most likely, but the Great Lakes are going at it. With that, I think I'll stop it here. The siege of New Orleans is almost over, and that battle will decide if the South or Texas comes out on top here in Louisiana, whilst the Great Lakes have started a massive offensive into New England, which may soon backfire as they have been preparing their armies for a counteroffensive, Then again, they are hoping to get a majority of the Atlantic coast, so the South may have to watch out. The Pacific states, who have only expanded, are doing absolutely amazingly for themselves. They are probably just looking for some slow expansion to keep growing. The South is trying to survive, and Texas is trying to recapture New Orleans. With that, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to leave it here. I don't think there would be one singular winner, as a stalemate would happen in some way. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and goodbye.